Dr. Beverly Wright is an advocate, an activist, a scholar, a civic leader, and the founder and executive director of the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice. She's a policy analyst, a leading voice on environmental justice, an advisor to the White House on climate and environmental justice, and I'm very much looking forward to this important presentation she is making to us today. I always learn so much from her, for which I'm grateful, as I am grateful for the gift of her time, her presence, her deep knowledge. Every time she talks, we learn something new. So let's please welcome Dr. Beverly Wright. Be sure to join the council at dncclimateorg.org/convention, because you're going to want these slides. So just push that down. Right.
Yes, got you.
Just that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm absolutely honored to be here today at the DNC, and included among others who are leading on climate and environmental policy by placing equity and justice in the center of the calculation. Without one, we can't have the other, and I think that we all recognize that. Today, I'd like to begin with just a really short presentation. I only have 5 minutes, so it means that I'm going to have to skip some information that wasn't relevant anyway. About where we began and where we are now. I'd like to just begin by showing this picture. Dr. Bunyan Bryan at the University of Michigan, who was so instrumental in our movement getting to where it is now and responsible for educating almost every person of color and white student in environmental science. He passed just this year, and I'm sorry he won't be here to vote for the Harris-Walz ticket. But this is why he's important. In 1999, there was a group called the Michigan Group that Bunyan Bryan brought together. These are all of us who were there at the time. I challenge you to find me on there. I was very young, and it's hard to know who I am, but I am there. And at this group, we came together to try to figure out how to get the federal government engaged on environmental justice or the pollution of our communities and the health of people of color in general. From that first meeting, there's almost a straight line to the development of the Office of Environmental Equity in 1991, later changed to the Office of Environmental Justice by a community person who basically told us, what do you mean by environmental equity? Does that mean you want poison spread out among everybody? I don't want any person to have poison. It ought to be justice. That's how that term changed from the Office of Environmental Equity to environmental justice by a community leader. But things began to change, and there were some really big events I'm going to take you through very quickly because I only have 5 minutes. So look quickly. So in 1991, we had the first People of Color Summit. In 1991, there was something called the National Minority Environmental Health Conference, where all of these agencies came together to try to deal with our health. In 1992, there was the EPA Equity Report that really began focusing on communities that were hurting. In other words, we've been saying this, you call it anecdotal. Where's the research to support exactly what we're saying? So that began the beginning of that kind of work. And in 1993, EPA actually formed the NEJAC, not the knee jerk, the NEJAC. And I was an original member of that group along with others in the room this evening. In 1994, there was the EJ Health and Research Symposium that brought together over 1,000 persons. We thought it was going to be a smaller number, and 900 plus people showed up in almost like a snowstorm in DC, or ice storm that DC has so often. It was an unbelievable event. And then in 1994, we had the signing of the Environmental Justice Executive Order by President Clinton. That was my first time ever moving into that building. I have 1 minute, watch this. And here we are today, the Biden-Harris era. And what happened since then is amazing. Now watch this very quickly. And they came in 2020, and 2021, I'm going to let you see it because we don't have time to talk. In 2021, Biden administration pulls off the Justice 40 initiative. We know what that is. In 22, the Inflation Reduction Act. In 22, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. In 22, the EPA creates the Office of Environmental Justice and External Affairs. In 23, the Executive Order 14096 was formed. In 23, Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Grants and TCGMs were formed. In 24, EPA HONRU. In 24, first ever national goal of zero emissions freight sector set. And this is where we are so that you can see it. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Here we are from 1990 to 1994. Look at us when the Biden-Harris campaign came in. I'm sorry. So I'm excited. I can't imagine what's going to happen now with the Harris Wall campaign, but we are excited and we expect great things to happen. It will be a moonshot again, but in environmental justice. Thank you.
Wonderful.